Hello, TFO family, and welcome to another interview with our musician of the week. This week's musician is Stefan Stolarchuck. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Larkin?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Stefan, how long have you been playing with the TFO?
I've been playing for the TFO since the beginning. I was there for the first season in 2012, and I played in two pieces that season. I think we had the one piece by a student from the C of A, the College of the Ozarks, that wrote us an original piece that had trombone parts. And then nothing else for the orchestra had trombone parts that year, but I did get to do Soldier's Tale. And that's actually what brought me down there. So I found out about the TFO, I think, from a post on Chelsea Koziatek's Facebook page. And I was kind of bored that summer. I was looking for stuff to do. So I sent you a Facebook message about it and asked if there was anything I could play. And then it worked out.
It's perfect. And the rest is history.
Right? So I've been there every year except 2015. I took 2015 off because I was going to Spain for a competition. I was in a trombone quartet at school that year. And we made the finals for the International Trombone Association quartet competition. And we were supposed to fly out, I think, on July 4th. So it would have been about a week after the festival wrapped up. And I didn't want to be away from the guys for 2 weeks right before we left. So I took that season off.
I guess if you have to skip TFO, that is an okay reason to miss TFO.
It was really exciting. We were the only Americans to make the finals that year.
Wow.
It was really good to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So you played in TFO for almost the whole thing. And since you are like basically a founding member of TFO, what is your favorite thing about TFO?
It's tough. I have a hard time picking favorite things in general. But I'd say a couple of my favorite things. I think if I really had to pick one, it would just be getting to work with friends and colleagues that come back every year. Getting to play with Dan Stahl and playing with Steve Peterson in the trombone section 2 seasons ago, and Loudon Cunningham is also a fantastic trombone player. So it's always a great trombone section down there. They're fun people to hang out with. The last several years, I've been coming down with my wife, Dilek. She's one of the viola players. So it's like a little vacation for us. It was actually kind of our honeymoon because we got married in 2017, 2 days before we left to go and be in Missouri with you guys. So being able to make music with great friends and colleagues is always, I think, going to be the best highlight. But I think past that, the coolest thing for me is getting to play interesting repertoire. The repertoire committee always does a great job picking interesting stuff for the orchestra to do. That's not always on the beaten path of orchestra repertoire. In 2018, it was 2018. Yeah, 2018 was one of the cooler years. Getting to do that Vaughan Williams symphony and the Jennifer Higdon piece. That was such a cool year, and you don't know that the next time that you're going to be able to play pieces like that. So to be able to do it and be around great friends and colleagues doing that kind of music is a special experience, and I'm always going to treasure it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. I loved that Vaughan Williams so much, and it was a piece that was unknown to me until Joe suggested that we play it, and now it's become one of my favorites.
It's kind of a devastating piece to get to do, isn't it? Like the way it just sort of falls apart at the end and just goes quiet. For me, getting to hear Dilek do those viola solos in the second movement.
So good.
It was great. It was so cool. I've shared that concert around on YouTube a few times. It's everybody who hears it is excited.
It's so good. And there was a moment between one of the movements in that performance where you just heard someone in the audience go, wow.
Yeah. After the first, there's this big applause, and you can hear somebody just going like, yeah, right in the background. It's fantastic.
It's so great. If those of you who are watching want to hear this program, you can find it in our archives, either on YouTube or maybe on Facebook, but definitely on our YouTube channel. So go check out that concert in 2018. Wonderful. So when you're not at TFO, where are you living and working for the rest of the year?
I'm living and working in East Lansing, kind of in mid-Michigan. I work, I mean, we'll preface this by saying up until March 2020, I worked as a freelance orchestral trombonist. So I sub for a bunch of the orchestras around Michigan. I play with the Flint Symphony on a pretty regular basis, the Midland Symphony and the Saginaw Bay Symphony. Sometimes I make it out to Muskegon and play with the West Michigan Symphony. And then this past season, I was working as the assistant principal trombonist with the Rochester Symphony, just north of Detroit. And then I also do a fair bit of other gigging stuff. I play for I play for a couple of the brass bands in the area, like British style brass bands. And I do a fair bit of other stuff too. I was playing for music theater pits, and I play for a jazz band down in Detroit. That's one of the groups that I'm really proud of. It's called the Scott Gwinnell Jazz Orchestra. We've got a couple CDs out. Actually, we just put out a CD in 2018 called Mulgrew-ology. That's all on YouTube if anyone wants to check that out. So that's the playing side of my career. And then the teaching side of my career, I teach at the Flint School for Performing Arts. I'm the low brass instructor there. I also run sectionals for the youth orchestra. And then I also taught at Marshall Music, the music store, kind of the big music store network in Michigan. I was teaching trombone lessons at the flagship store in Lansing. And then up until through the fall of 2019, I was teaching music history and appreciation down at Jackson College. And I had done that up until October 2019, when they changed the format of my class from being something that met twice a week for an hour and a half to something that meant on Fridays from 9 to 1. So I had to do a 4-hour lecture, and it just turned into a 7-week course. And then I decided that that was enough of that.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
It was, I don't know who was in on that decision, but it wasn't somebody who's ever taught a class before or ever sat in a class.
Sounds like it. No one who has ever been to school. Oh man, so you were busy. You're doing a little bit of everything musical.
Yeah. What I like to, it was really cool because I was making a living just with trombone related activities, and I was doing really well. Yeah, I had about 25 students, which was a pretty good size load. A couple of years ago, I had 35 students plus doing the class and gigs, and that was kind of my breaking point. So it was kind of nice that it scaled back. But then when everything started to change in March, it just went to teaching lessons online. Yeah,
and that actually brings me to my next question. What happened to all these things you were doing when everything shut down last March due to COVID-19?
Well, most of it evaporated. So I still, what I'm mainly doing right now is that I'm teaching lessons for the Flint School, and I'm doing all of that via either FaceTime or Zoom. So this is kind of my practice corner in the living room. So I set up my iPad on the music stand, and we do lessons through Zoom. It makes it tricky to play back and forth. Because when I was teaching in person, I really liked to play duets with students. So we can't really do much of that anymore. But other than that, that part of the teaching is working pretty well. I think what's interesting about it when you're teaching lessons online, I think it kind of highlights how much a student is working. So if you have a student that was really into lessons and practicing really hard, then teaching lessons through an iPad is no problem. We still accomplish a ton. But if you have a student who's maybe not the most into it and wasn't putting a whole lot of work into stuff, then it feels like it's easy to let them slip a little bit. But that's mostly what most of the gigs disappeared. So I had a bunch of stuff lined up in the spring that I was really excited about. I was going to get to play Shostakovich's 7th Symphony with the Midland Symphony. I was going to play the Dvorak Stabat Mater with a chamber orchestra down in Detroit. The TFO stuff I was really excited about, getting to do Sibelius 2. Both of the jazz festivals that I was lined up to play, those both disappeared. I think I had 3 or 4 different gigs with that. So basically most of the performances went away. I did a couple brass band things over the summer where we played a concert in a parking lot with all the chairs set out 6 feet apart from each other. And that kind of worked. And then I did a couple wedding gigs, but that's really about all the performing I've done. I've done some YouTube recording projects. So we did the TFO YouTube recordings, and I've done a couple other things like that. And I've been doing my own YouTube stuff. But that's kind of what I've been up to since the pandemic hit, work-wise. Other than that, I'm trying to practice more, and I've been working on my cooking a lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a great positive. I've been doing the same thing, working on my chef skills, cooking up a storm.
What do you make?
Well, tonight I'm making chicken spatchcock, which is very exciting.
Nice.
I know. It's delicious.
We just did, yeah, so you cut the spine out and flatten it in half. And...
Oh, yeah.
Cool. We did a pulled pork over the weekend.
Ooh, yum. That's great.
I can't smoke it. I just did it in a Dutch oven, and then shredded it and made barbecue sauce and mixed it all up. I've gotten really good at doing cast iron skillet pizzas, like a Pizza Hut style pan pizza.
I love it. Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, I bet Dilek is into it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's quite the cook herself, though.
Oh, definitely. She is a great cook, but she teaches a lot more than I do. She had, if I can brag about her for a second, before the pandemic hit, she had something like 52 students that she was seeing every week. Plus, she's the chair of the string department over at the Flint School for Performing Arts. So she still has something like 30 students that she sees every week. So since she is so much busier teaching than I am, I take it upon myself to feed us. So once I'm done teaching, I start working on dinner, and then hopefully have it done by the time she's done.
Good. Oh, sounds like you guys have a great partnership happening.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been one of the bright spots of this whole thing that at least if we're going to be stuck at home, we're stuck at home together.
Absolutely. That's lovely. So in addition to like COVID-19 messing a lot of stuff up for us, we also experienced a decent amount of civil unrest. And I know like in Michigan, you guys felt it as well. Was your life at all impacted?
That's a good question. I can't say that I was physically impacted by it. You know, my safety was never at stake. My ability to make a living was never at stake, but I was definitely emotionally impacted by it. I was disgusted by the murder of George Floyd. I thought that was just so terrible. And the protests that arose up about it, I think were totally justified. And then I'm not going to be shy about my political leanings. I think we can be okay with that. The image of the protests around the White House being tear gassed so that the former president could walk down the street and hold a Bible upside down in front of that church were just appalling to me. And I felt helpless about it because there wasn't really anything I felt like I could do. I wrote letters to my senators and to my representative about it, but that, you know, you get the form letter back, and it doesn't really feel like that's really accomplishing a whole lot. I had thought about going out and joining one of the marches around here, but I also needed to prioritize my own safety, and we were in the midst of one of the big COVID case waves at that point, and I didn't feel like, at the time, it didn't feel like it was an intelligent decision to take that risk. I might come to regret that later on, to see. But there was that, and then the attack on the Capitol just about a month ago. That was maybe the craziest thing I've seen happen on TV since 9/11. I was practicing then. I had the Senate debates running on the TV as background noise, and I was practicing on and off and kind of seeing what sort of Senate shenanigans were going to go on. And I actually saw Langford get interrupted by the marshals when they broke into the building. And then everything just kind of went crazy. It was totally surreal. And then we just spent the rest of the day kind of glued to the news, watching what was happening. It was terrifying.
Yeah, indeed. Oh man, it's been a crazy time. Absolutely,
it's been crazy. It's been just for me, for you, for everybody. It's been one of the weirdest things, one of the saddest things, one of the craziest things that we've all lived through, and hopefully that we will ever live through.
We can only hope, and hopefully being able to play music this summer and get back to the better things in life will begin the healing process for everybody.
Absolutely.
So speaking of that, do you miss performing and teaching in person? I assume you do.
And absolutely. It's, music is what I do. I think it's the thing that I do. It's the thing that I feel best at doing. I think I'm not always the most comfortable at expressing myself with words, because I'm a fairly shy person in general. I'm not super social. Even before all this, I didn't really get out a whole lot. But performing is the way that I feel like I'm able to communicate best, through making music. It's how I clear my emotions out. It's how I cleanse my soul. And so to be stuck in here, to be able to be barred from performing, it makes me feel a little bit useless sometimes. And it's a weird feeling to have that feeling. And so to be able to get back to playing would just be it would mean the world. To be able to get back to teaching in person, it would be just great to be able to communicate with students on that closer level. As much as I can say that you can get a lot done through the iPad, it's not the same. It never will be the same. And the face-to-face connection, to being able to hear somebody sound the same person or in the same room, and not have it translated through a speaker, through an app, out an iPhone speaker, which isn't the best audio equipment. There's no substitute for being able to hear something live.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The teaching aspect and the performing aspect, it's going to be so great to get back to playing. I've said this to other people too. It's I think the first time I get to play something outside of my living room, I'm probably going to break down and cry. The first time space around me.
I can't wait to see what happens when we get through the first rehearsal at TFO this summer. I'm gonna have to keep the tissues on standby.
Right. I definitely will.
Yeah.
I've been getting more and more sensitive to stuff like that over the years. There's more and more movies that I need to have tissues around for me lately. So that's going to be joyous and rough all at the same time.
All at the same time, feeling everything all at once. So what would it mean to you to play in an in-person TFO this summer?
It would be great. And I don't know that the word great really captures how great it's going to be. I think for all the reasons I talked about before, that TFO is such a special group to be a part of. And in all likelihood, it's probably going to be the first round of performances that I'll get, because I think there are a couple orchestras around here that are starting to play concerts again. I know Dilek is playing something with the Midland Symphony in a few weeks, but they're all doing reduced instrumentation and picking pieces that are doable with reduced instrumentation. And a lot of pieces that have reduced instrumentation don't tend to call for this guy. So I suspect that doing the TFO concerts will be the first big set of performances that I'll have, and I'm really looking forward to it. Because it's going to be in such a special place with all these really special people, it's going to mean a lot.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad to hear you say it. I feel the same way. I can't wait for an in-person TFO. It'll be similar for me, same first orchestra to play with in a year or more. But more.
Yeah. My last orchestra concert was end of February, so almost a year ago now.
Jeez. Yeah. I'm glad we have a decent TFO base in Kansas City. At least we can have chamber music when it's warm enough outside, but now it's, you know, we have Michigan weather outside and there's no hope for us.
Me too.
That's good. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today. So thank you so much for joining me for this interview. If you're watching from home or from your device, please make sure you're following us, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, to get more updates about future happenings of TFO and more fun interviews with our other spectacular musicians. Thanks so much for joining me, Stefan, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Larkin. Have a lovely day.